anything below, or like if it's low that it's
Yeah.
ever been recently, what do you do then?
Like, can you repeat that? Let me just, I'm trying to
Like,
understand the.
okay, I think last night I was trying to mark up EJ, and I
Okay.
realized it has reached its low.
Okay.
Um, w- but like, if you're not sure of the direction that it's going,
Yeah.
what can I use for like confirmation
I
to
see
when
what
I
you're
mark
saying.
up my chart?
I see what you're saying. So like when you're at this, like when you're trying to see like if it's at its actual support level, and but
Yeah.
you're not sure because it has the potential of breaking through that level.
Right.
Exactly. So that's actually a really, really good question. You kind of see what like what I have here with you're talking about Euro JPY, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I kind of have with JPY. Do you see the trend line and how it's broken?
Mm-hmm.
That itself should give you an indication of lack of bullish momentum, or I'm sorry, lack of bearish momentum, right? Because since we
Okay.
have that break of the trend line, it's now going to bring in new traders. So you could use, I mean, there's many ways of doing it, but this is just how I personally like to do it. So I kind of have the same idea. Does your chart look similar to mine?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. So do you have the initial trend line?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. And you have the trend line being broken the same way that I have it here.
Actually, last night, yeah, it does. I have that the same
Perfect.
as you, but I was like at the very end of the chart, so I was kind of scared. I was like, I wonder if it'll make, like, if it was just a fake breakout, because I think it was like towards London session. So
Gotcha.
I was like, huh, I don't know if it's gonna make a uh, fake out and then break through, or so I guess just being saying that I am new and I'm learning a lot from you. So it's like making me feel like, okay, maybe it's not gonna be a sell anymore, but yet it's not something I can confirm yet. So I knew I was gonna want to ask you that question. If we don't have a market price to work with anything lower than where it was currently at,
Gotcha.
what should I be looking for?
So there's a few things that you could look for, right? Obviously, the first thing that always breaks or that I always see in my mind is a break of or respect of. Right? If I
Yeah.
have a respect to the trend line, then obviously we should be automatically, I wouldn't say automatically, but we should be gearing up looking for some more identificator like factors for possible sell. Once I see the break of the trend line, now I'm going to trigger my mind that it's now looking for a bullish move, potentially because of the break of the initial trend line is now going to bring in new potential buyers, or it's going to show the exhaustion of the sellers and loss of momentum in the market to the downside. And
Okay.
the one thing I always say, and this I believe you've been on a few sessions, and again, I always say this is price action, right? We have to identify the most relevant area of price and then identify the action that fits in that price point. So
Okay.
what's the action that we're seeing around this initial price point? So let's count some of the signals that the market is giving. So obviously we already said it numerous amount of times, break of the trend line. That should be the biggest indicator. That's again showing you lack or a loss of momentum to the downside. Where is this happening at? It's happening at, we can clearly see a significant level of structure. What else can we identify? There's a double bottom here as well, right? So we have a double bottom. That where's that double happening, or where's this market coming back? The retest of the outside of the trend line. So it's retesting this initial trend line to confirm the next potential bullish move. If you wanted to, we can also identify the 886 fib that's being respected at that range as well, right?
Mm.
Action. There's a lot of identifications. What else can we identify? There's also a morning star candlestick reversal pattern at that level of structure. And everything pretty much pointed here is giving us bullish indications. And now the higher the time frame, the stronger the confirmation. We're on the date. This is
I
showing us a bigger picture, right?
okay.
So we're going to get the idea that this market has a really strong or high chance now of having a bullish bias. Now we got to scale down to the smaller time frames and really get a sense of what could potentially happen even here. Now we can start to even see here on the 4 hour, the market is losing a lot of steam to the downside. This is a strong trend, right? This is showing that the money is obviously pushing down. This here, this is a strong trend. Now we can see that the candlesticks here, just highlight that. That doesn't look very strong. It looks pretty exhausted, at least even here for the 4 hour time frame. We're getting a lot of choppiness, consolidation. If I take away this Fibonacci tool, there should be a small pattern that we can be able to identify that gives us a nice reversal idea. Possible inverted head and shoulders pattern. Right? So the reason why I always go for the high time frame is because, again, I want the bigger picture. I want to understand what the market is fully going to give me. The smaller time frames, such as the 4 hour and the 1 hour, we have to use these time frames to confirm what we're already looking for the daily. This gives us like the clear picture, obviously our entries. So if we wanted, now we have the idea, right? Now we don't need to have that anymore. What we can do is start to label some of our structure points. The reason why I'm putting this line here is obviously this was a level of previous support. And we can see in the one thing also is a level of structure is also confirmed when it's broken convincingly, meaning that there's a strong push. This is a breakout candlestick or a bearish engulfing candlestick. That's a strong indication that the level of structure is pretty significant, even on this time frame. And this is where we start to get more detailed with our analysis, is this is how we start to identify potential entries. Because what did we have? The market broke down, but it couldn't break above now what was previous support, a level of now resistance. But for me, I'm just identifying this as a significant level of structure. Why? Because we can see that on the opposite end, this was the candlestick. And this box here, I like to call like a range box or a consolidation box, where I just find where the market is kind of just like stuck at. And then when it has that break above with a convincing candlestick, that's telling me that there's an early indication for buys. And the biggest thing for me is the confirmation. The candlestick here is the confirmation telling that, or the candlestick is giving me the confirmation telling me that there's again, like a possible bullish bias. Scale down to the 1 hour. We have the break. This is obviously going to come back down and retest that break. This is where we start to look for our entries. Make sense?
Yes.
So if you're looking for your bullish bias and look for your entries, you can still use the Fibonacci's and everything on the same time frames. This would be considered your next entry point long, at least in my eyes, right? Because now we kind of have the confirmation. Look at here on the 1 hour. We can see the level of structure even better here.
Right.
And yes, there are small breaks here on the 1 hour, but once we go to the 4 hour, you can just see it's just wicks, and wicks equal rejection, right? So you always want to put that into mind. When we see a large wick like this, that's telling us and kind of confirming that that level of price is kind of significant. So if you're looking to go long on Euro JPY, this might be the spot that you're looking at. Because I'm also looking to go long on Euro JPY. But now I did that so that way you get like a systematic idea of how to go from time frame to time frame to kind of get the indications of what, or like what to look for in order to get that strong idea of, okay, this is definitely going to have a push to the upside, right?
Okay.
Or to the downside. Now, this is also something I put into consideration when I trade. I also trade a lot of harmonics whenever I see them. And there's also this idea to keep it as simple, right?
Okay.
So that also gives me the idea of, okay, if I get the confirmations of this obvious buy without the harmonic, I also know that if this is true, it's going to complete to that D leg, and that's going to be the ultimate target. So that gives me also the idea, my obvious areas for re-entry up to that point. Because if we have a solid idea of, I would say, the long-term bias of a trade, we can just trade that market up until that point for however long and make as much profit as possible. Because you don't need to be in every trade to make money. You know what I'm saying? You could just be confident on one, put the house down. So I always kind of like show that idea too. So
Okay.
you need to see here, if we break on the smaller time frame here,
Mm-hmm.
I would say at least this is the, I would say, the most relevant high that needs to be broken. I'll make this a little cleaner. That would have to be the most relevant high to be broken to really confirm the next bullish bias, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
because that'll really show that there is momentum long. And then that would be the, like, my personal next re-entry. And then I'd probably re-enter after that as well, and so on and so forth. But does that kind of answer your questions?
Yes, it does a lot. Thank you very much.
You got any other questions? And I know somebody else joined. If you have a question, feel free to type in the chat, unmute your mic. If there's a specific market you want to identify, let me know. So yeah, any other question or a specific market you want to look at? No, you good?
I do.
Yeah.
I know this is forex, but I have a question. I see that Bitcoin is moving, but um, I can't seem to get Bitcoin down like I get forex.
Yeah, it's kind of like its own little entity. It really is. So it still follows in a structure, right? It
Okay.
still has that price action base, but it does have, it's based off a lot of fundamentals as well, because I've been following it not as much as I used to, but I was kind of identifying it for a bit to kind of get a sense of the next bullish run. And it's still about creating momentum. Let me just go on like the daily, right? Just so you can get a sense of what's actually happening.
Okay.
I'll go on the weekly. So obviously this is like the lowest ever. You're not to really identify this. This is what's important, because we already know what happened at this time. There was a lot of hype. It was a lot of push, but this is no hype. This right here is actual technical analysis and people now making it a real thing. This is based around, I wouldn't say hype, but more along the lines of fundamentals, actual news being a real thing now, because this wasn't at one point. Now this is going to be like even ran by governments in some cases. So on a technical standpoint, if we just draw everything out, this was a strong level of structure. I think that was like the strongest level of price at the time when broken. That already gave us the sense of what? More buyers. Because if a level of structure on any market is broken, it gives the, I wouldn't say illusion, but I say that because the market is based on fear and greed. So it's really based around a lot of emotions. So I feel like a lot of people, including myself, obviously, because if I find a market that's broken or respected, that's also giving me the illusion or the idea that the market is going to go in my favor if I think it's going to go up or down, whatever. That we can see kind of happen here. Market broke above. It still had the same concept. Break above, retest, still, or you have a strong impulse move to the upside. And it's still happening here. It still has levels of structure that is being broken. It's making higher highs and higher lows, higher high here. This is just all momentum. These are all higher lows. It has not even shown any sense of bearish nature. So until there's an actual either pattern, which there is not, there was a head and shoulders pattern here, but I don't know what the reason. Again, I don't follow Bitcoin as much as I used to. But if I would say on a technical standpoint, the reason why it's having this bullish rally is it just maintains support, or just maintains structure.
Wow.
It never created a lower point. It still, so this is like how I would say the best way to draw the market. It'll have bullish rallies, And then it'll get to a point where it just has to make up its mind. Or it doesn't have volatility, there's no trade or something. I don't know exactly why the market moves, but it'll make its mind up eventually. That structure was never broken. Bullish momentum and bullish structure was maintained that entire time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we really just see it, it's not going to stop. I really do think that this is going to be, if anything, I would say the most significant level that it was going to reach next, at least before we have a strong decision here. And again, it's just because this was a strong level of previous support that ended up being a level of resistance. And from there, we never had a bullish retest, or we never had a retest or a real strong bullish market, right? It just plummeted from there.
Okay.
It still has a long way to go. And this doesn't seem like a lot, but with Bitcoin, the smallest investment, and this would be, it actually did retest. Jump down to the floor. Yeah, so this is probably going to shoot up heavy. I'm probably going to put another couple thousand in this. And I would always, I'm not going to change my bias on anything. I still use the same technical standpoints on any market. Even with stocks, like I'm starting to invest in stocks as well. And I still use Fib, I still use structure, and it still works.
Okay.
So that's kind of like, and look, we have the 23.6. So that's just telling me that the next impulsive move is going to be great.
Mm.
Right? At least to one of these levels. The 127, the 61. Now, if that level is maintained, right? Obviously, we are finding some form of resistance here. So if that high is broken, this isn't going to stop. Especially if this doesn't correct to any other level. If it just respects the retest of previously broken structure and the 23.6, this impulse is going to be insane. It's going to push up heavily, at least up to like the 10,000 range. That's just based off of technical analysis.
Okay.
Right? Does that kind of make a little bit of sense? Too?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like I was like, why can't I really understand? Because it seems like it has this, but now that you break it down to how we normally should still kind of treat it, I see it now.
Perfect.
I see it.
Yeah, no, it's the main thing is understanding how a market works and then understanding how a specific market is working. Because if you understand how the markets work in general, as far as like you have your trending market, bullish, and then you get some type of, break of structure, some type of idea that is reversing or just identify specific patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to see that you're like, okay, I get the idea. Maybe it's reversing type. How many times have you seen that in the market? It happens all the time. That's exactly how the markets work. This is on a bigger time frame. When you scale down to smaller time frames, just understand that within these moves, and I'm not talking about Elliott wave, I'm just literally just talking about how the market works. It's just smaller move for our entry time frames. That's what we have to identify. So when we go from daily, or like when we look at weekly analysis, as soon as we do the weekly, we have to go to the daily to confirm weekly analysis. When we look at the daily, we have to go to the 4 hour to confirm our daily analysis, and so on and so forth. That's called time frame correlation.
Okay.
Everything has to like match. Like all the stars need to align. If I'm getting nothing but bullish signals, this is just my personal preference. Again, it's just my trade style is just based a lot around price and what's happening around there. If I'm not getting any bearish signals, the only thing I'm going to continue to keep thinking is bulls, because what's everyone else thinking? Probably the same thing. This is the only place where we want to follow others, especially if the money is going in that direction.
Okay.
So at least for me, yeah, I'm looking at Bitcoin to keep pushing up pretty heavily as well. It's just a matter of time. Um, the one thing I hate is because we never could time the market, but I do get the sense the reason why I use fibs a lot is because each level represents the strength of the initial trend and obviously the next impulsive move.
Yeah.
So if I'm just getting the idea that that 23.6 is really going to be respected, the same idea I get in any price action market or any market that I utilize price action to identify with these technical tools, I'm going to think that is going to be pretty, and it does look like, I mean, it's not looking very bearish even on the smaller time frame for the most part. It's look pretty impulsive to the upside. So yeah, I would, if you have any money invested into it, I would say hold it.
Okay. No, I don't.
You should. You definitely should. Absolutely should. That and Ripple as well. Like
Okay.
this is something as well that and Tron. I'll show you that as well. I forgot the acronym thing for it, but I'll figure it out. But XRP or Ripple, this one's something you should definitely invest in as well. I've bought with a couple, not even thousand, just a couple hundred from here previously, and I'm still holding. I'm holding from to potentially these targets.
Wow.
Even with even with a few hundred, and and if it ever reaches this level again, look, it's reached these levels before, so or beyond, so it's not impossible.
Right.
This would make you a millionaire.
Yeah.
It's just a really small investment. So, and I start, I'm putting more in. It's
Yeah.
only like 45 cents. Or what is the current price right now? Actually, not even 42 cents. So I don't even know how Bitcoin or that crypto shit work. I'm just going off of what this says on
I
the
I
side.
have I have Tron. Like that was I
Yeah.
think I did it when it was like 12 cents, then it went down to 8 cents. I still
Oh,
held
okay.
it and then now it's back up.
I was looking at Toronto, the thing for it, for like the little acronym or the ticker symbol for it on Trading View, but it's like 3 cents or something like that. But that's something else that I wanted to start investing in. I just don't have a wallet to do it yet, so I'm actually going to probably do that later on today. But yeah, if you start investing into these cryptos early, it's really you're going to be you'll thank yourself later. Your future's bright. Um, but yeah, any other questions? Any other markets? We got a bunch of time.
If nobody else has a question, I have another one. I noticed you use Fib a lot.
Yeah.
To try to see, well, when we were taught to use Fib, it's to get to wait for entry. Now,
Yeah.
is there a certain level that you try to wait for all the time, or is
Nah,
it just based on market price,
it's
market?
all based on market price because, like, what's a good example? USD cap, perfect example. So it's all based around price. I died. Um, let me see this because I got out and I'm regretting that I did. But sorry, I'm not made more than. So like here, USD CAD being a perfect example, and I'm always just trying to identify the most significant level of price action that proceeds with it. So what can you tell me from my chart right here that like you could just immediately see? I mean, it's already pretty much written up, but what are some key points?
Well, what's the key point?
Yeah, like what do you see on my chart that you believe that's just like that could have given you some ideas for a potential trade?
Oh, well, according to uh, the key point is
Like yeah, anything.
each level is at a point where the market what is it, the price action is. So let's see, I realized that at, like, let's say I enter in at the 0.71 and
Mhm.
it dropped down and it made to the 0.5, pull back a little bit, I could have re-enter and then it keeps going to the next key point was about at the point 0.236. Is that what I'm seeing?
We're right here.
No, above that. The zone above that. There we go.
Oh, okay.
So, and then that kind of had like a little, that became like a little resistant. I mean, support. I'm sorry, support.
Wait, this would be resistant.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about
We're down here.
the, no, up a little bit more. The 0.236 down,
Here.
down one more. There.
Okay.
So you see that three little candle right there? Uh-huh. And then it dropped down. Well, it pulled back a little bit, then drop again. So I realized that's why I was asking, like, do you just sit and wait till it hit a certain fib level to enter, or do you use it just like price action? Because I
You're
realized,
just say price that,
okay,
right? So
I got you.
I'll do this. I'll even just put a limit. I don't care which number, which level it is. Not one specific level or one specific point. It's where, again, where X marks the spot, where all the
Oh,
stars are, where everything, like with the meat and potatoes is. You kind of see like how I have weekly resistance right here.
uh-huh.
You see, like that's telling me that it's at the strongest point in the market where we can have the most high probable area for a potential reversal. But without confirmation of a reversal, it's not a reversal. So
Okay.
I'm still looking for bullish identifications up until I see a specific point. And the specific point is if I take away even just the fib, because I use the fib last. I'll actually just do this. I use the fib absolutely last. I identify what's happening in the market. For one, I see that this is a level of support, strong support. Why? Because I'm on the daily time frame, right? So if I can see that, this needs to be broken. This is the most significant level of structure that the market needs to break to confirm either a buy, because if it's respected, obviously I'm going to look to buy. If it's broken, that's telling me that the market is now no longer a bullish bias and I should be looking for a sell. What else can give me more confluence and confirmation that the market is in fact going to be a continuous sell? The break of the initial trend line, right? And if we go to the smaller time frame, the break happened, there was an initial retest. I get rid of this, right? Break of initial structure, or not, wouldn't just say structure because we just have a break of the trend line and retest of it. But on the high time frame, we get to see that real strong break structure. But it came to retest, price action. This still applies. There's nothing different. Just because it didn't break an initial low, it still gave us confirmation of the break of this initial trend line. And even if you wanted to use your trend line from or your fibs from here to here to get that nice idea, you absolutely can get that 23. It's a 23.6, but again, it doesn't matter about which level. It matters about where does everything line up at? It
Yes.
makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then we had that push down. But obviously, we'll stay on the higher time. And then you can even just see the initial break and reject of everything. What did we just create? This was an initial high point. We now created a lower low and a lower high,
I
right?
got.
Keep it simple. That's already should be in your mind. This is losing momentum. This is now a full reversal. Where should I be looking for my potential entries? Again, doesn't matter about the level your fib, matters about where everything lines up. From here, I'd start taking my fibs, or I'd just that confused me for a second. I'd start taking my fibs and I do it from the higher time of the daily. Why? Because this is where the movement is actually happening. This is the bigger picture. This isn't happening on the smaller time frame. A lot of people right now are probably wondering why USD CAD is such a strong sell. Well, obviously there was fundamental news for CAD and the US dollar, but that still follows strongly around how just all around price action. It's based around these specific levels. So I'm going to take my fib, doesn't matter which level it is. I'm going to go from swing high and I'm going to go to the actual swing low. Now, what am I going to identify? And yes, I am absolutely going to wait. The two indicators I always say that you need when you trade is patience and confidence. Because if you're patient enough to wait for your initial trade to come into play, just like how I did, you're going to be placing 10 standard.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you're like, yo, I planned this out. It's doing exactly what I said. I'm confident in my trade. I'm going to, that's what really dictates our lot sizes, is it not? Right? If you're like, oh, yo, I know for a fact you place that standard. And sometimes when you're not too sure, you place that micro.
Yes.
You know, so it's all about confidence within the market. You're not going to get the confidence without being patient. Plan your trade your plan. Once you
Yeah.
could do that, you're going to be making money every day. So I saw this as a level of structure. This was this was the strongest support level that was also broken. A level of structure that's respected so many times and then is broken is, in my eyes, the home run, because you know for a fact that's a PRZ, and I wouldn't say a potential reversal zone. I'd say a perfect reversal zone. When everything lines up, what else do we have? I wouldn't say a strong evening star pattern, because this did not really engulf as much as this candlestick. But in my eye, I would still take this as an indication of rejection of the level, right? It doesn't matter of the candlestick reversal pattern. The candlestick itself is still rejecting the level itself. I mean, obviously this was all news. We were waiting for fundamental news, but it still followed the technical standpoint of the market. Do I care about which level it is? No. It's just an extra barrier, just an extra form of confluence, right? I always want to make sure that I feel confident with my trades at all times. So I want to layer my trades. It's like, you probably heard me say it again, but like a martial artist. Break one piece of wood real easy, but they can't break 10, 20, or 30. If I got a million confirmations, a million barriers or pieces of wood, and I can't break through that, obviously the market's not going to be able to either.
Okay.
That's what I'm just looking at here. This is, again, I identify the most significant area of price. I want to see the action that proceeds with it. We could have also entered here at the trend line as well, right? But when we identify the candlesticks, that's like the missing piece of the puzzle to everything. How the candlesticks play and how the candlesticks actually work. They're telling us what's really going to initially happen. This is a strong correction, and even on a smaller time frame, this is a strong trend, right? But what does this candlestick say? It's kind of tired. It's exhausted. What does this candlestick say? Rejection to the upside, or rejection of that specific level. Two key factors of it is we have a wick to the upside. We have a strong body candlestick to the downside. We have no wick here. That's telling me, at least on this time frame, that that level of price is obviously significant. And if we scale down to smaller time frames, we could look for potential entries. You know what I mean? So is that kind of up a little bit?
Yes, that helped a lot.
Perfect. Because, and then obviously, so I will say this about fibs though. So each, like I said before, each one of these levels do represent something, right? 23.6, obviously that would show us a strong impulse move to the downside. But I will say that this impulse move is really based around, we just had FOMC, we had a bunch of news. So this is a key, or that's a key factor of this bearish move. But obviously, we don't want to ignore the fact that I have the 61.8 as like in a gold color. That's considered the golden ratio.
Okay.
That would be considered in I would say most successful and professional traders that I personally follow, and I would obviously say I've been look up to the best traders in the world, in my opinion, do base a lot and maybe even only their trades around this level. Because that's where, me personally, I'm not a guru. I'm still very much a student of the game. But that is like the most significant level. Banks even trade around that level. There's a lot of confluence around that 61.8. And then in nature, each one of these levels also represents, I would say, what type of trade or I would say the impulse you're going to get. So let's say if it corrects to the 78.6, might look like this for a bit. It's not going to be too impulsive to the downside, but it's going to get there. And same thing, it might take a little bit even longer if it hits the 88.6. It might just stagnate there, consolidate, range. and then just eventually get there on its own time. But each one of these levels, if it just does this, you know what I'm saying, like 38.2, you might get a nice little push to the downside, pretty significant. 23.6, you're looking for like immediate reaction. So each one of these levels do represent something. But I would not personally say that one level is better than the other, because I would be lying to you, because I personally use every single level. Because it's an area of confluence. It's not one specific point. It's an area. It's a zone that we need to identify. And we need to use a smaller time frames to identify entries. Again, significant areas of price. And when I say that, I'm talking about like if the market, if we had a level of, let's say, resistance that was just broken, and it comes down to retest, and I buy, and the next area of most relevant structures all the way up here, I'm automatically knowing that I can execute buys and I don't need to be looking for sells up until this point. So on the smaller time frame, I'm not even going to joke, like my chart looks like that with entries, because on the smaller, I'm not even joking, because on the time frame, like on smaller time frames, you can find the, here's something you should definitely look to really understand: impulses and corrections. Because when you identify that in a trending market, especially on the higher time frame, again, always execute the higher time frame, you're going to be able to just, and this is like, let's say a re-entry here, push up, use your fibs, identify. You could base a lot of trades off of those smaller moves based off of the bigger picture.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? So I posted my pool chart, like one that I market with, on, you know, with a few entries here, like earlier today. Got like a few entries up top on USD CAD. On my like my compound account, my chart looks insane. It's green lines all over. My MT4 is insane. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you are able to identify that bigger picture, just stay, for one, stay in that trade.
Okay.
Patience, 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 patience. Like I'm actually getting that like tattooed somewhere on me soon, because it's like super important. And again, when you identify that bigger picture, actually, I'm not going to tell you how to trade. I don't want to tell you to go out and go hit home runs, but at least on a demo account, learn how to find the bigger picture and then enter off the smaller time frames and re-enter, because that's not, it's good. Price is used as a gravitational pull in each market. Doesn't matter which one. GBP USD, perfect example, right? I knew for a fact that this was going to be the most significant low for the market to reach before it would have a bullish move, and we were all able to buy from this initial low, because again, the market was not going to stop. There was no real structure. You can obviously find levels of structure. It's not going to be a straight shot down, even though this is a straight shot down, but there's going to be those levels of correction. The market's not going to just trend in one direction for a whole, you know, millennia. But we can identify, what can we see? Level of strong structure. How can I tell? Well, for some reason, this bearish market stopped right here and had a really strong bullish trend for a while. This is important. So the next time it comes down to that specific level, my eyes should already be looking for either a potential reversal. I wouldn't say potential reversal, but at least a potential trading opportunity. Because again, higher time frame, smaller time frame, that's a big ass move. You know what I mean? Like that's already 204 pips. My target's already been hit on this. Mine's like just 200 pips. I wanted to see if it came all the way here, but I literally just took profits before I saw that, the little consolidated range right here. Thankfully I did. But I still kind of see this being bullish, because on the smaller time frame, I would say the most significant level of structure even here.
Yeah.
This is identifying your small little entries, because we know, again, this is not going to stop until we get to a specific point. It probably will get to that point, and it probably will get to these others as well, because again, this is bigger time frame analysis. What else is there a possible idea even forming here? Identify shapes and patterns. Possible inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now it could be here. It could obviously even push down here. Can't predict the market's that perfect, but we're getting a lot of sense. So again, it's just identifying the most significant levels of structure, price, and the action that proceeds with it.
Okay.
Cool?
Cool.
Cool. You got any other questions?
Not right now.
Perfect. Who else is here? Nicholas, what up? I don't know if you talk, but you got any questions? You got any markets you want to look at?
Hi, morning. I've just been
Morning.
looking AUD USD,
Which one?
Australian dollar and USD.
Oh, AUD USD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a nice little buy on this. So even with this, so this was relatively risky because this week was really news heavy. It had tons of actually for I would say all major pairs had news, and we actually are still waiting for some form of news for other currencies as well. But again, everything is in my idea, and again, my preference. This is just my style of trading. Everybody's different, but for me, I'm always again just identifying what's happening first.
Right.
Because just to make it as simple as possible, I don't want to overcomplicate it for me because I'm not the sharpest tool, you know, anywhere. So I want to make sure that I can understand exactly what I'm thinking. So I'm obviously, again, just going to identify this as a level of structure. And this looks crazy. My zone is not going to look like this because of this giant wick. But what I will say and what I have noticed on times where even on smaller time frames, anytime we start to see a bullish reversal pattern or a bullish sentiment anywhere within a range like that, that's the most significant level of price that we should identify. So I will kind of like section it off like this in a sense.
Okay.
I hope that kind of makes sense, right? Because
Yeah, it does.
eventually it's going to find support within this range, but there's no indication until we get a signal, an indication. So now we're starting to get it. We have it is in sense, a broken double bottom, because the true sense of a double bottom is that the lowest previous price cannot be broken. And we can see that it was. But just because, like, for one, I do think a lot of it was based around the fundamental or the looming fundamental analysis, the lack of volatility, and news is used as an excuse to really push and drive a market, especially based around a technical level, or I would say a really strong decision area. I would still consider this very much a double bottom because, again, I just really do believe it was the looming news and really nobody's trading around that time. So I would still consider this a double bottom. So we have that bullish identification, right? So, and it's not confirmed until this level is broken as far as the bottoms is concerned. So for me,
what I was looking at here is that I drew my fibs on this daily. So it's now reached the 50 mark retracement.
Got you.
Oh, I drew it from there. Yeah, from the
Got you. Okay.
So like should I come out to buy or should I wait, see if it pushes up more? So that's where I get confused with and exiting trades.
Got you. Okay. That's actually that's a beautiful question, honestly. So there is a sense of resistance even, right? We can obviously even level that out. Why? Because just look left. We can obviously see even here, you scale down to a smaller time frame. I'll make this a little bit better looking. That could be a very strong, I wouldn't say strong, but it could just start to cause an initial correction. The reason, and this is not to sound, I'm from New York, so everything I sound disrespectful, but this can possibly only cause an initial correction because, again, higher time. This is the bigger picture. This could tell us what's initially happening. This is a very strong candlestick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's not, in my opinion, not going to stop. Based, for one, the fundamental news, dollar is super weak right now. So that's most likely a lot of people are even looking to possibly re-enter this market. But I would say that there is a possible correction being here. You're not wrong for one using that fib in the manner that you did. You're not. I actually like the way that you did that. So by all means, don't change that. I don't want you to think you have to do anything different. That's beautiful because again, there is a level of confidence here, right? You can even consider this your little kill zone by all means, because look at what this candlestick is doing. So I didn't want to like to deter you. That's actually beautiful analysis because I see what you're identifying. But I would say, and I would honestly say that if you could possibly sell this, like I actually like the way this is looking, honestly. But I would say again, just take in mind what's happening on the higher time frame because this is again giving us the bigger picture. But you're not wrong for looking at it the way that you are. But I'm also kind of seeing it in this idea as well because I was also looking at AUD USD and hence why I'm buying, right?
Yeah.
There is that idea. Now, again, it's not confirmed until it's confirmed, but it's just a visual. It's something that can obviously happen, especially with the credentials of the harmonic pattern. But I would, and that's not like a big factor in why I'm buying, but it's just because I really do think it's finding its level of structure. And also, I really took 99% of the reason why is based around the fundamental analysis, just to be real with you.
Right.
It's always, I'm only placing my trades and trusting, I would say, my trades around news when it's based around specific price level. I wouldn't say it's a secret, but, and I don't know if it's true, quotation marks, but banks, right? They know what's initially going to happen with these before these news releases even happen, right? They're going to drive the market to the possible lowest point of the market so they can get that prime entry. So when the release comes out, they're making all that money.
Yeah.
And then they're probably not, they're greedy. They're going to keep going, right? That happens all of the time. What's another one? Gold. They couldn't, well, for one, if the dollar's going to or if the dollar's going to weaken, gold's going to shoot up. So this probably would be a bad example. This was at its like highest point. But I would say now that we can see gold breaking that strong level of structure, we can obviously determine this isn't going to stop either. That's a strong point of structure that has now just been broken. And obviously there are smaller like structure points up here that can cause some form of resistance, but it's not there yet. So this still has some momentum. DXY, what's happening here?
Right. So the DXY, I've been looking at it, and to me, it looks like it's in a trend channel. Is that correct?
In a what?
A trend channel, a channel.
Oh, the channel? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll eliminate my structure after this, and I'll show the channel. But yeah, you are absolutely correct. I think you're looking at this.
Yeah.
Is it that or another time frame?
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, so I mean, if yeah, is it like this? I want to make sure it's almost identical or identical.
No, where do I have mine?
You're probably talking about a parallel channel.
Yeah. So maybe around January 2019.
You're on the daily?
Yeah, do weekly too, yeah.
Okay. So January.
Yeah.
Like that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's actually beautiful. I'll actually show you one that I have on Euro GBP that's really, really good. It's almost like this, but yeah, that's beautiful as well.
That's how I've been marking. That's how I've been marking the DXY actually.
No, that's actually beautiful. And now, obviously, you can. Well, I wouldn't say obviously, but now you can start putting the structure in between the channel to really get that idea. I actually like this a lot better. So thank you. And we can kind of already see that it wants to break below that. If that's broken, and for one, I mean, I have the initial trend line already here, but you have the initial. That's I actually really. I don't know how I didn't see that before. You sure you need me?
Yeah, I do. Because of you, I see these things now.
Okay, perfect. Nah, I'm like, man, teach me. But no, that's gorgeous. So if we do have the break of the initial trend line, obviously, or if anything, bottom half of the channel wall and obviously the structure break low, this is definitely not going to stop. And I would obviously just trade it down all the way down here. Again, most significant level of price.
That's what I'm
Each one of
waiting.
these points, huh? What up?
That's what I'm waiting for, to see if it breaks.
Oh yeah, me too. And if it keeps going, like each one of these points here, yes, it might have a strong impulsive, or I would say a strong correction off of it, but it's going to gravitate towards these low. Like it's always trying to find that strong, most relevant area. Once you find that, you're good. And then it's only going to happen if you have a break up.
Yeah.
And if it's obviously respected, it's going to gravitate to the next most relevant area of structure. You know, if it couldn't break this high, well, where was the most familiar low? Here. That's why I'm highlighting this, because it's already been here so many times, or had, I would say, action. It's respected, bro, had to violate strongly to come back into the range. Obviously, even respecting your channel wall. Came back, had to break down again. This is like a little pivot point, but it obviously was significant because if we can see here, it respected the trend line and it also respected, yeah, same level of price. Now we can see even currently what the market is doing is back there and it's respecting it. But we're still waiting confirmation amongst anything because this is not a break. That right now is a wick or still a little break, but might end up being a wick if this is still respected. So yeah. This is definitely going, in my opinion, I think this is going to keep crashing. I think the dollar is going to pretty much die out for the most part. Because thanks, Trump. So, so I definitely see like this is going to correct Euro USD. Markets don't work in up and down fashion. I think it's going to sell up into a specific point, right? And then obviously I'm going to look to buy from this initial range. Now, it's not because, I mean, it is a beautiful factor that the 61.8 is there, but I'm not looking at that as the specific point because it is the 61.8. It's just because, again, we already identified on the higher time frame and obviously fundamental value, but a level of previous structure was respected. It couldn't be broken below. And I had my zone a little bit higher because I'm not going to say that I sold in the perfect, or I bought in the perfect area. I was initially buying right here, and it had that initial drop down. And just because I'm saying that, I also want to show like the instance of like stop losses and take profits, right? If I'm placing like how I did here, and this would scare people, that was one based around a fundamental factor that I actually didn't see was coming out. So I'm actually grateful for my technical analysis and the news coming out to still be relevant. I'm giving myself a 30 to 50 pip cushion, right? And this is my stop loss should have been here, 60 pips, right below previous levels of strong structure. We just look left, we kind of see why. But for me, that's not enough. Everybody wants that pristine trade with that 5 pip stop loss. That's not how the market works whatsoever. So I'm giving myself usually a 50 or 30 to 50 pip stop loss. I didn't like that 30 pip stop loss because I knew that it could still gravitate a little bit beyond that. Just identifying that this was at least, I wouldn't say I'm very technical, but the way that I've traded for a while, I kind of just try to break the market down in halves. And again, just identify where the market had the most structured at or action. We can see that this was a level of previous resistance, kind of broke down lower. And I just identified this as initial zone. I don't know why I've done that, but I've always just seen it that way. I'm always matching it with the last most relevant area of structure, right? And there was, so that's just how I've seen it. And that was about 30 pips. So I was like, you know what? That's for me personally not enough. So I had a 50 pip cushion. And if it goes beyond that, fine. I don't care. I'm moving on to the next trade. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I was like a genius on this. I think I've just got lucky. So no, I'm just being rude. So, but even here, this is, again, I want to identify price or action. This was a level of but it's not the most significant, but it is a level just to kind of get you an idea of why I kind of see the market in half. Because there's wicks here. This was a level of structure. It broke out because I'm always identifying if it breaks out significantly, convincingly, and then obviously it retested, it's gonna, I would say, be significant or something to take note of. So yeah, I would absolutely identify this because it did break out again and it retested that zone. It's not a specific point. It has to be an accumulation of actual price and actual action in it. That sounds crazy, but it's true. Um, so I would at least say for Euro USD, even here, minor correction, but the general bias on the higher time frame, for one, the candlestick bullish engulfing, broke out a level of previous structure here. We already broke above it, retested it, this whole range, and we already had that strong rejection. If we haven't, there's no confirmation, not yet, that this is going to continue, because this, again, very much just drop and continue to sell. Once this initial high is broken, that's going to be the strongest confirmation for the buy. DXY gives us the correlation, because obviously if the DXY does break, in fact, breaks and closes below trend line and market structure, Euro USD is going to skyrocket and gold's going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the markets will start to correct. This is why I told you guys to identify impulses and correction, because we know it's an impulse. Boom. The market's going in that direction. That's the market streaming in our face. Like, yo, you guys might want to start to look for your next move.
Yeah.
You had an initial correction. This is us looking for our entry. Anybody who says, oh, it's way too oversold or it's way too overbought, it has to sell and reverse from here, fine. They don't know what they're talking about. This is where the money's going. We need to follow. Use your fib. Where we at? 38.2. What's happening at 38.2? Well, we have a nice little candlestick pattern here. We have a strong bullish move. What do you think is going to happen? Probably the same thing. So I think gold's going to correct. I'm just going to eliminate that level because it's done with. So we're going to do this. Well, actually, on the 4 hour. Right? Because now we know that this was a level high that needs to be broken. Or actually, yeah, just draw like that. Looks a little weird, but that needed to be broken significantly for us to get the idea that the market is going to continue. We already have that. But if we understand how on the higher time frames, even how an impulse and a correction works, we could look for potential sells. Now, I wouldn't say that's a strong idea, but we could look for a nice little counter trend trade. But even if you don't want to risk it. Trust me, that's perfectly fine. I probably wouldn't either. But if the market did get here, this is where patience comes back into play and confidence. We already have a directional bias. Where's the next structure that this is most likely going to reach? Let's actually identify. Looks like we got to go to the weekly. Look at that.
I think, yeah, I have it as.
Huh? Oh, you got to level up here too?
Yeah, I have it marked up too.
Perfect. All right. So this is all no man's land. There's nothing stopping this really from pushing up to this level. Most significant level of structure. The last most significant level of structure right now has been broken. That's going to bring in a ton of buyers. We know for a fact now, I wouldn't say for a fact, we can only assume the market will humble us if we try to be 100%. But if we could identify what the market is giving us, we obviously now know that we're not going to be looking for sells anytime soon. And we should be looking for strong buys. Now, if you have experience and you have the confidence, you can definitely get into that counter trend trade. Absolutely. But the long-term idea and why everybody's probably going to be crying, why they think that gold's too overbought and it has to reverse from here and it ends up just moving a million pips to the upside, we probably want to get into that initial re-entry, the next most relevant area of structure. So nice little retest right there. Now we have confirmation. We know. We were placing micros here for those sells. Thank God, because there was no confirmation for anything yet. Now we do. We have confirmation for the initial buy. And I wasn't selling from here. But like a lot of people are like, oh, it's time to sell gold. Absolutely not. But it would be a nice little trade here. I'm looking for it. But yeah, that's kind of like, yeah, I actually might start selling the DXY. I'll do this. But yeah, any other questions? Any other markets?
I'm still holding out on the Euro NZD.
Yeah, this one's actually, So this one had news as well. It kind of like stagnated the trade itself, but you kind of get the idea of what I have here. Like, again, I'm just identifying simple market analysis. Now, it might look a little bit different, obviously, because we have a break of the initial trend line, but we did create that higher high. But again, I think it was basically based around a ton of fundamental factors or just the looming news. But we'll go over a few things. Obviously, we had the break of the initial trend line, giving us the idea that sellers were most likely going to come in. We can't time that, though. We can't just say, oh, it broke and they're going to start selling right now. Absolutely not. Again, patience has to be taken into consideration. There's a few factors that you always want to look at when we have a break of either a level of structure, like we did here, and obviously an initial trend line. You're going to get you're going to get a retest of either one of these levels. It's either going to be the retest of broken structure, and obviously you would use it, or if you want to, you can use your fibs to kind of give you correlation, or that initial trend line. Even if it creates that higher point here, it's still valid. It's still a valid retest by all means. And what kind of shape or pattern do you see this kind of making?
What kind of harmonic pattern?
No, just it doesn't necessarily have to be a harmonic. Any pattern. Well, what pattern is it? Like, what pattern can you see it kind of developing?
It looks like a crab pattern to me.
A crab pattern, as far as like a harmonic pattern is concerned?
Yeah.
Where? Like, oh, you talk about this big pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, that could be a potential pattern as well. Absolutely. I was more, I mean, that could be taken into consideration. Absolutely. I'm not going to say no, because I actually do like that. That's what you were looking at? That's actually good. Yeah, don't even take away your analysis. Like, I would always, even me teaching you, me showing you this, trust your own analysis over mine. Again, because you want to, I don't even trust, I never trust anybody else's analysis, even the people that I follow that I think are the best traders, because there's been times where they've been wrong and I've been right. There's going to be times where I'm wrong and you're going to be right. So keep your analysis on that, by all means, because I actually do like that. But this is kind of like, what's up?
The immediate pattern there, like a head and shoulders coming up.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was identifying.
Okay.
Yep. No, but you're absolutely right. By no means are you wrong on that. I actually like that. Yes.
At the retest of the trend line there to the top,
Yes.
would that consider like is it a morning star, evening star, evening star?
Yes, that is an evening star. Absolutely. This is a full evening star, because I never want to see an evening star or morning star pattern with the actual candle that confirms it being weaker than the predecessor. Right.
Right.
I want to see that strong bearish, or if we're looking at a morning star, bullish candlestick, not a weak. And absolutely, this is a evening star pattern. So
that's why I held the short, yeah.
Oh, perfect. So I personally got in like on the smaller time frame, because I think that there's a head and shoulders pattern even on that. So I was like, oh, perfect. I saw like roughly around here. That's why I always use time frame correlation. But we can even see that. So the evening star here at the initial retest of the trend line, it's starting to, at least for me, on a higher time frame, show a nice little head and shoulders pattern. Yeah. Just getting that idea, I'm like, okay, this is kind of looking as if it's losing its steam. I'm getting the idea of the candlesticks playing around the range. There is a small break, absolutely, of this level. That's okay. The market is not, or our analysis is not going to be perfect. Maybe my zone's off. The markets don't work that way in the first place. Sometimes they want to trick us. That's perfectly fine. Again, patience within your initial trade. But for me, I kind of looked at it like this. Once I started seeing that rejection of the level, I wanted to see that level broken, at least the smaller level, meaning that, let me get rid of this, just so I can show you. When I'm starting to look for like potential entries, I need the confirmation. This is the confirmation. What confirmed it? This was the last level low that this market knew when it was correcting, or at the initial retest. This is the action. I need to identify what's happening at that level of price. This was the support level that the market was obviously having, that started its initial bullish move, and the last previous low that it's familiar with. And if it breaks that, it's obviously going to most likely going to start to sell off from here. That's the retest. This is the confirmation. This is your entry. This is where we place a micro, unless obviously we do have a lot of confirmation to the downside. So I probably wouldn't have put a micro, but I definitely put a standard, because there was also the idea, even on the higher time frame, we also had a nice little head and shoulders pattern here. Little trick about a head and shoulders pattern that looks like this. When a head and shoulders pattern is facing or tilted or looks like this in the direction of the initial reversal, it's chances are it's really, really right, and you should feel very, very confident, because that's just showing the actual lack of value to the upside, or volatility to the actual upside, obviously in this direction. So that's a little nugget. So for Euro NZD, this is actually retesting right now, even the break low. And just to get a little crazy, I want to see what my strategy, because I might re-enter this. Yeah, re-enter it. I actually do like, yeah. I don't know if you guys want to enter it now, but I like it. I'll actually wait. If I do like it, if I do re-enter, I'll put it on, guys. I'll let you guys know when I get it. But yeah, this is going to be a nice little sell. And again, I'm identifying the relevant areas of structure. This would be the first level of target for me. Again, where X marks the spot, we had a nice little push up. For some reason, stagnated down, but it had a strong break above and the retest. On the way down, this is what's going to give it its first like real struggle. And then obviously the ultimate low to the downside here, if again it does sell from here. But don't take it too granted, because even with that, we just look left, it's still maintaining structure.
Yeah, and then even on it's still an uptrend though. So
still very much an uptrend.
Yeah.
Yep. Market structure has not been broken yet. That's why I'm waiting for that low to be broken on that smaller time frame, because that'll kind of give us a sense of a real reversal from the spot. It's not about, oh my God, trend line respect, and we have no. Let the market really tell us. Once the market tells us, then we can go in, full throttle. We put the whole house down. You put your wife down, she'll be happy. Once you win, you'll be good. So that's what we have to wait for.
Yeah.
Price needs to either be violated or respected. If not, there's a trade. And it has to, your trades have to be based around a strong level of price. You're not just going to trade it in the air. It's not just going to be floating and you're just like, oh, strong move to the upside, it's time to buy. That strong move's probably done with and is going to correct. So it has to be at those strong levels. So I would look for, I would say that the last real strong confirmation needed is it's really broken.
Right.
Make sense? I hope.
Yep.
Perfect.
Perfect sense.
Perfect. But again, I would still keep your analysis. Trust yours over mine at all times, because I absolutely see what you're saying. Where's your initial entry if you're looking at one, or did you already enter?
Hold on. So I initially entered at 71955.
7195. All right, so you're like right around there. Okay, so yeah, just kind of almost around where I got in. Okay, yeah, I would absolutely hold that. Don't even get out, because that's most likely not going to stop. Especially with, obviously just off of what we base off of, or what we just went over. Yeah. I really don't see this pushing back up anytime soon, unless obviously here might be a minor correction, and then another impulsive move to the downside. But did you got your entry based off the harmonic standpoint or the harmonic pattern?
No, I did it off of the um the one evening star.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, even better.
And
Honestly.
then, sorry, I have my
No,
chart up, and it's moving a little bit slow.
send me the link. Send me the link through chat. I'll take a look.
No, which chart? No, I'm doing the Zoom on my iPad.
Oh, okay. You're on your iPhone.
Because
Because
Zoom
was
slows
it on
down.
TradingView?
Yeah, using TradingView.
Yeah. Send me the link through Zoom chat.
No, I have my charts on my laptop. I'm doing the
Oh.
Zoom on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
Just now, huh? I also did a fib. Right, so I also did a fib on the 4-hour,
Okay.
and the SEM 199 is close to the 50 retracement.
You went from this high
Yeah,
to this
no,
low?
I went from that high to where's your 100? No, further down. Yeah, there.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So you have 38.2. So you entered like right around here?
Between the 38. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's beautiful. I'm gonna get rid of these moving averages because that's not there. No, that's actually really good because you can kind of see the exhaustion around that range, and then obviously you had a nice little rejection from there. I believe this was also New Zealand news from yesterday. Let me go back. Yeah, if I'm correct. So we actually do have another kind of idea of why or why we should be considering this a continuous sell, because I do believe that the news that came out for it was actually positive for the New Zealand dollar. So obviously that's going to drive the market more to the bear side, but we're just, again, waiting for that confirmation. Just because we have an idea, it's not too confirmed yet. But I mean, that's still a beautiful trade either way. At this point, I would say take your stop loss and just move it into profit, or at least break even, just in case the market does whatever it wants. You know what I mean? Because the market do that all the time. But I would say, yeah, hold that for sure. Because what's up? You good? What's up?
No, so I just put a micro on it.
Oh, all right, yeah. So even that, I mean, it doesn't matter. You were still correct. You know, that's what's going to build your confidence when you're trading. It doesn't matter if you're placing a micro. It doesn't matter if you're placing a standard. If you're correct, if your analysis is correct, over time that micro is going to turn into a standard. It's just be consistent with it. The more consistent you are with it, obviously you're just going to be like, oh, well, I already know. Because there's times I'm not saying this to sound cocky, but there's going to be a time when you're at your, at a level of trading where you're just going to like, oh, all right, and just place a standard without even thinking because you already see it. Sometimes I don't mark up charts. A lot of professional traders, I've seen some of the best traders, and I look at their charts and there's nothing on there. And they're just like, okay, and they just place an entry. It's just because they already know what to look for. So if this is what you can see, continue doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a beautiful, beautiful trade right there. But I would also, do you know where your targets are?
Hold on.
So I'm looking like down here.
Right, I think right where you have your, down there. Yeah, that's where I have that's why I place some micro. So I'm holding out till it reach back down.
That's still $26. You ain't got to do nothing for that. Just wait. No, that's actually a really good trade. If that level even here is broken, obviously I'm looking at the next level low. I didn't mean to do that. But even there would be like a nice idea. That's what, 859 pips? Jeez, I'd be rich off of that, richer.
That's why I did a micro, because I was like,
Well, no, it's fine because that itself again is just going to build your confidence. It does. So your chart does not have to look like mine. You don't have to trade exactly like me. Whenever you're like, when you start to see the market the way you see it, again, you build that confidence with micro. You're going to start testing yourself. You're going to start putting that 0.05, make a little bit more money. I'll be really honest with you. I have 3 accounts. Right? I have a Get Rich or Die Trying account, which I'll put like $20 in, and I'll flip it for the week, and that's what I spend because that's just like my me money. Because I have bigger and better goals. I'm not just trying to trade for the rest of my life. But I also have a compound. I personally stay extremely patient with my trades as much as I can. But that Get Rich or Die Trying account, this might sound crazy, but that's where I place the most ridiculous lot sizes because I know that one account is safe and I'm not worried about losing $20. Test yourself. Honestly, take a small account and see what you can do with it because your analysis is probably correct, but you just don't want to risk your money. That's perfectly fine. Build your confidence. And I mean, obviously, if you want to do it a demo account, you can, but it's not the same. I'll be really honest with you. It's definitely not the same.
that's why like trades like these, I would just do the micro, just to test and see.
Yeah. I would say get a small account, put $50 in. I hope like if you, I'll put $50 in for you if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? Because test yourself. Because I feel like you already know what you're doing. You just need that confidence. I feel like you just need to build it because that, for one, that's a beautiful trade, my man. I don't know about you, but that's gorgeous. Because you pointed out a lot that I mean I personally wasn't looking for, but that's I can see it. You said Evening Star. I got it. I'm in. Do it. I tell everybody that there's people who they just need that extra little push. Go take a $50 account and watch that be $2,000 in a month. Guarantee it. You already know what you're doing. You sure you need me?
I do because of you, I can see these things now.
Perfect. No, that's awesome, man. I'm just messing with you. No, that's actually really good, honestly. So what I'll do is I'll actually just send this chart up to you. That way you can kind of have my analysis to confirm whatever you have. Again, you trust your own analysis over anybody's.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. So boom, you got that one as well. All right. So any other questions before we conclude? I'm gonna head out in a bit, but I want to make sure that you guys are straight. Got any more questions or any other markets, by all means, let me know. We could definitely take a look.
I'm good. That's it for me for today.
Perfect. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Zena, I'm hoping I'm saying your name right. I really don't want to say it wrong or pronounce it wrong. But any other questions? You're on mute, by the way, if you're speaking. Nope. All right, cool. Perfect. So what I'll do is tomorrow, same time. Tomorrow's Friday, so there's not going to be too much activity. So if you guys, it'll be more of a question-based session, and obviously projecting any potential trading opportunities for next week, or obviously look for significant points in the market. We can obviously mark for charts and get ready for next week's like hellacious week, I guess, because markets are crazy. But with that being said, I appreciate both of you being on today. It has been recorded, so put the recording for you guys as well. And if you guys have any further questions, by all means, feel free to let me know. All right?
Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem.